The Last. April 18, 2019. In what can be named, as beyond any name, in the heart of the heart, beyond any form, as well as any identity or history, you and I stand, encompassing space and all time, where nothing can appear or even disappear, in the immobility of great silence, as in any form and in any world. I am what you are, beyond any identity, crossing the dream, where there is no involvement, where there is no limitation. I invite you on this day, in every moment as in this moment, beyond every passing time, to remain where you have never been, where there is only the fullness that cannot be defined or even grasped, where no story can take place or even be envisaged, where joy needs neither support, nor understanding, nor even acceptance. In the space and air you inhabit, as in all ether, the great peace unfolds through your joy as the joy of this world, putting an end to the appearances of suffering, as well as to everything that passes, for you have never passed, and will never pass. In the naturalness of your eternal I, the blessing becomes permanent and incessant, where all action is not done from yourself, but directly from itself, where there is no justification or even explanation, in the heart of the heart. In the midst of this body that passes, lies what will never pass, and yet it is the only truth, not dependent on any condition, any frame, or any reference. There is beatitude, there is the only truth, the one that lets you, without moving and without displacing, where everything is seen, without being drawn onto it, without being subdued to it, showing you the predominance and essentiality of love. Depending neither you nor on me, nor on anyone else, love perpetually generating itself in itself and by itself, where no logic can grasp it, think it or imagine it. On this day and at this moment, the ultimate alchemy of revelation and your revelation is realized in you, where there is no fear, no supposition, no suffering, where perfection meets the unspeakable perfection of your presence and your absence combined at the same time, as at every time, and present in every space, making you discover that all this has only passed away, that all this is nothing in the eyes of the great silence, of the great joy. Where there is no difference between anyone, nor between any dimension, where all shapes and colors are resolved at the origin of what was called the dream of creation, revealing themselves to your eyes, your heart and your senses, revealing to you ever more in the actuality that you are, having overcome, without effort and without constraint, the experience and history of all forms, in any world. In this, you are true and truthful, in this you are the only one, in this you are the ultimate, the never born and the never dead, which will never pass. There is bliss, filling everything missing as well as every appearance, dissolving your form within the primordial ether, allowing you to verify, in this evidence and this apotheosis, the totality of the created as well as the uncreated is experienced. Where you have nothing to do, and where graces abound here in this world of dreams, thus completing, through the action of purifying fire, the establishment of sacred fire, making it possible to overcome any idea of forms, like any thought of stories, to come or to pass by. We are settled, if you wish, and you and I, as in each other, in the heart of every other, with the same equality, with the same intensity and the same graces. So embrace me, as love is embrace and gift, where the movement balances and disappears in the immutability of what has always been, is and will be, beyond any concept or understanding. Then you will give thanks, permanently and perpetually, whatever clothing you have put on and still put on in this world, whatever the circumstances and conditions of your body, as well as for everything that is happening and being experienced at this moment, for what you see, for what you live, where there is no longer any need to believe or hope, or to wait for some time or dimensions, because everything is perfect, in the dwelling of supreme peace. Where truth cannot fail, where nothing can be compared, nor even distanced, nor even dissociated, from the totality of life. The life that knows neither birth nor death, that you have always been, in spite of your sufferings, in spite of illusions, in spite of any dream. You're invited to this eternity, where you no longer need what belongs to any world, where there is no framework, where the infinite merges with the indefinite, where the point furthest from the omega is also the point closest to the alpha, in the heart of the heart, in the center of the being, then combining being with non-being, beyond any difference, without being able to make a distinction. So you love with equal love, whether it is through your silences, whether it is through your words, whether it is through your looks, whether it is even through the thoughts that pass through you. Then you discover the grace of the permanent miracle, working in every gaze, in every intention, accompanied from now on by the fire of the Sacred Heart, igniting the ultimate resistances, the ultimate reticences, making you discover beauty, beyond all art, as beyond all manifestation. With each breath, you're invited to find yourself in yourself beyond any distinction or thought. Everything that affects your character as you live it, only passes through you, and floods every circumstance, every story, every pain and every image of any future, in the same bliss of the present instant. You're invited, by the intelligence of the light, in each of the events and circumstances of your life, to let life live you, to let life take you away, in the ecstasy of beatitude, on which no advice, no prerequisite, no becoming depends, for by being so, you discover that there is nothing to become, that there is nothing to hope for, and even less to fear. You and I, like everyone else, who in magnified love, dependent on nothing but itself, making you reach essential freedom, where joy and smile blossom in your lips and on your heart, where everything is perfection, where everything is perfect, whatever your body tells you, whatever this world tells you, whatever any entity tells you from the brightest planes to your plane. There is in you all the worlds, what you are discovering today, because you are living it, because you have accepted it, because you have embraced in the same movement, to give yourself to life, as to give yourself to each form, as to give yourself to each world. The times are not only fulfilled and calm, allowing you to laugh without suffering, at everything that may seem resistant in you, as well as outside you. Wherever you look, wherever you put your hands, grace is at the end of your gaze as well as at the end of your hands. There is no need for action, there is just no need to identify any difference in what happens, as in what doesn't happen. Thus love emanates and radiates from your heart of the heart, coming to transform and transubstantiate everything you touch, everything you see, and everything you can think of. No suffering can resist from this moment to the light, no circumstance will be able to oppose, in any way whatsoever and for any cause whatsoever, the beauty of the ineffable. I invite you, from now on, to drop the weapons of combat, to put on the armor of invincibility that you have never left, which is your body of eternity, where nothing can escape, where nothing can miss. Life invites you at every moment, at every glance, at every touch, as it does at every rest, with the same intensity, to live what you are, beyond your being, beyond yourself, beyond me, so that you can never again make the slightest distinction in the value of love, in the value of each person, beyond any value and any consideration. You're invited to eternal grace, to the eternal dance of silence, where nothing can keep you busy, where nothing can divert you, or take you away from where you are, realizing that you are from everywhere, in any time and in any space. Then, you are fulfilled, beyond all expectations, beyond all imagination and beyond all perception. At the junction of being and non-being, there is no difference, there is no vision, there is no projection, there is no suffering of your character that can be sustained. Thus then freedom is very real, making you return to your simplest humanity, to your simplest childhood, the one who lives spontaneity, who can only be led elsewhere in the spontaneous, elsewhere than in the evidence of love. Rejoice, for it is recorded, for it manifests itself to your limited consciousness. In this way you rediscover the value and intensity of your humanity, your smallness and its simplicity, which leads you to greatness, which cannot be measured in this world, an unknown greatness, making you the incarnate Christ, far beyond any history, far beyond the historical life of the one who preceded you, who was only you, at another time. Where you need no set, no demonstration, except to let what spontaneously shines from you be, from inside to outside, as well as from outside to inside, allowing you to simply embrace and magnify, through this act of listening and embracing, any suffering in anyone, as well as any difference, because any difference is only the costume, is only the prerogative of an expression frame. Now you are anterior to all expression, as you are anterior to all life. Thus, joining Abba, beyond any character, you discover yourself agape, you discover what has always been, what could never disappear has appeared today, within the world that is disappearing, you're there, and keep calm. Let us communicate in grace, through our identities, beyond our forms and beyond any reluctance. It is now, it is forever, it is for every moment, from the moment you accept it, from the moment you believe, not in something of this world, not in something of the future, but but when you believe in the truth, so you'll live it in its entirety. This is now, because there is no delay, no time, no space, no condition of your character that can hold that. You have nothing to hold on to, you don't need to connect, you are yourself the link and the resonance, by your silence, by your words, by your actions and by your gestures, no longer depending on a story or a character, or even on a condition. At that moment, you live freedom and you are freedom, not dependent either or outside, because you have seen and experienced that all this does not exist. There is neither nor outside, there is just the ineffable beauty of your consciousness as well as your consciousness, where you need neither, nor understanding, nor even form, nor even an identity. It is the same for everyone and it cannot be otherwise. Each of us is the gift of grace, whatever he thinks of it and whatever he says, you will see for yourself that from the moment you love, the other can no longer make a difference. Whatever he says, whatever he loves you or whatever he rejects you, your love remains intact, integral and identical, ignoring any arrogance, ignoring any suffering, ignoring any betrayal, understanding then that it is only you, coming to meet yourself, and experiencing the love that you are. No longer dependent on any suffering, any history or any condition. Love is unconditional, it is surrender, it is flowering from what can never fade, then delivering your essence of identification with every form and every world. This is happening at this moment, and everyone is called with the same intensity by the very circumstances of what is being lived at this moment, for there are no better experiences, no better stories than all those that are present on the surface of your character and your life, allowing you to be life, where there is no difference, there is no friend or enemy, no master or guru, no family or child, no parent. For there is the same equality, in the gaze and in the touch, in the living of the heart, concerning all forms, concerning all identities, because all these identities are yours, nothing is outside of you, you're the world and you're beyond this world as beyond any world. Then there is liveness, then there is resilience, then there is a miracle, depending neither you, nor on me, nor on the slightest distance, nor on the slightest explanation. The slightest reluctance that may exist around you is consumed with the same joy, not by any expression of your will, but directly by the intelligence of the light and its evidence. You discover and live unconditional love, impersonal love, love that no longer makes any difference, for there is nothing that has happened outside of this love. Beyond any setting, beyond anything you have experienced up to now, all this disappears, because you are much more than anything you have ever experienced, from everything you have ever experienced in any world. I invite you to this evidence. This invitation will resound at the door of your heart, looking at you as if you were suffering, which will be worn and which will then become nothing more than a passing memory. I invite you to trust, not in what you believe, not in your character, but in absolute trust, because it has been written, and by standing at the junction of being and non-being, it can only be obvious, it can only be accepted, and can never be discussed. Leaving the dream, you're therefore the awakener by your presence and radiance, of everything that is still blocked by a few veils of illusions, by a few attachments linked to history, linked to habits or reflexes called survival. Nothing can be missing, nothing can be taken away. Perfection is total, it cannot be expressed in any way, it can only be lived and will give you countless proofs of the action of the intelligence of light, in everything that you will look at, in everything that you will touch, in everything that you will think, where everything is obvious, where silence is the answer to the ultimate questions. You are filled to satiety, having emptied yourself to satiety, the receptacle is once again full of water from above and water from below, gathered in the same radiance from the heart of your heart, where nothing can be distanced, where nothing can be analyzed. Let yourself be totally, let yourself be lived by life, so that life may become the only truth of your words, as well as of your brilliance, as of this character who has only passed away. I invite you every minute to this invitation to life, to this invitation to beauty, to this invitation to the obvious. The whole world, in all its dreams, can only emanate from the heart of your heart. In this dwelling of supreme peace, joy and smile are permanent and no longer depend on any contentment, but simply on the evidence of what is and has always been, beyond any dream, beyond any heaven, as well as any earth. I invite you to this, not in the ultimate, but also by yourself, because each pretext is only a pretext to live what is beyond any conditioning, beyond any notion, as beyond any perception, as beyond any projection. You're invited to eternity, you're invited to the primordial ether. There is rejoicing, there is celebration, there is the power of grace, which depends neither action nor understanding, but flows directly from the place in which you are through this body of flesh. In the moment when my words remain silent, you live these words in you, leading you in an inescapable way to find yourself in the heart of the heart, no matter what this body says about it, as no matter what your thoughts say about it, they can no longer be altered in any way, for you are beyond all of yourself, as you are beyond all of me. This ends the distance, this ends the impression of separations, because in what you are, in what I am, nothing can be divided, nothing can be fragmented, and nothing can be diverted. The rectitude of light is lit every day in this world called Earth, for an ever-increasing number of brothers and sisters, where joy takes everything, where what was still yesterday resistance is erased by the gift of grace that you grant yourself, from the moment when you do not seek to seize circumstances, to seize explanations, but rather to fill yourself with the evidence of grace, with the evidence of love. Beloved, what you are is much more than the source. Beloved, what you are is far beyond any function, as beyond any occupation, right here on the surface of this disappearing world. It has never existed, it never disappears, only the limited gaze can consider it as a private space, where freedom cannot appear when it has always been available, but today, with magnificence, elegance, and lightness. Where there can be no conflict between you and the world, as between you and each other, where peace is resolved in the great silence of the evidence of who you are, in being as in on-being. Where consciousness cannot resist what is lived, and where it erases itself from any claim in this world as in any world. This is what you discover, this is what you experience, this is what you will live, this is what has already been lived even before creation, even before the dream. And quite naturally, and spontaneously, you will embrace everything that will happen, everything that happens, whatever you say, whatever you think. There is no difference, there is no distinction, where consciousness has no need, no indication to maintain itself in this state as in any other state. For you are, by grace, independent of every state, as of every form, as of every intention. This is beauty, this is the transcendence of what has always been there, whatever you may think of it, even today. I deliver myself in you to the extent that you embrace me, allowing me to reveal in you the truth that you are, as well as the truth that does not depend on any being. That being said, there can be no interference of any kind that cannot limit or restrain what you are experiencing at this instant. Whatever your body says to you, whatever your head says to you, whatever your visions say to you, and whatever your heart vibrates. There is no longer any difference between the first and the last, there is no higher, there is no lower, there is no inside or outside, because you can no longer make any difference, and even if you wanted to. You depend, and you do not depend on what you have always been. You're even dissociated from it in order to be unified at all times and in all spaces, in all forms of this world, in all forms of another world, so that there is no difference between this world and the most ethereal worlds within the dream of creation. Thus the Alpha joins the Omega joins the Alpha, leading you to notice that there is neither nor Omega, leading you to notice that there has never been the slightest accident, that there has never been the slightest suffering, and that all that which seemed to hinder your conscience itself is there only to allow you to escape the form, without wanting to save yourself, without wanting to avoid any circumstances whatsoever, because it is within your humility that everything is crossed, that everything is magnified. You have nothing else to do, you have nothing else to be, simply to be there, beyond your heart's heart, in every other as in every element occurring on the screen of your life, for you are no longer your life, but life, that which does not fit any rule, that which does not fit any dimension, or even any definition. This is the gift of grace, allowing you to give without counting and without being affected by giving yourself to each other whose gaze you meet, in each other who asks you to, in each relationship, in each smile, as if in the midst of great silence. It is now, it is now, it is at every moment, it is at all times, and it is the truth. The one who experiences this has immediate understanding. Whatever the concerns or sufferings related to the person, these magnify themselves. They are transmuted by the brightness of your words, as well as by the brightness of your silences. You no longer need energy, you no longer need to project, you simply need to be entirely within the sacred heart. Fire of the sacred heart or sacred fire, the heart makes no difference, the heart does not classify, it is and embraces everything that is, that has been, and will be, merging times, that no longer unfolds according to a given rhythm, because you no longer know of that moment. If you come from the past or if you come from the future, you don't know if you come from elsewhere, you don't know if you come from here, because it was on your race that the first dream of creation took place, in which was inscribed, despite the forgetting, the space and the time of the resolution, which is now lived more and more clearly for each sister and each brother who accepts this. To embrace love is to reject nothing, to embrace love, to accept nothing, to judge nothing, neither towards you nor towards anyone else, to maintain oneself in the ineffable, whatever you do and whatever you say, without needing anything other than to be lucid about it. Every day, not only are there countless of you, but more and more of you are being informed of the events that are taking place, that many of your media are of course transcribing, that you are looking at the sky, that you are looking at the earth, that you are looking at volcanoes. All this sends you back to the same essentiality of love, to the same truth, to the same intensity. Whatever you say and whatever people say, you cannot be affected by what happens on the screen of this world as in the mind of everyone, who is none other than your great mind, leading you to live in humility, in your childhood, in your humanity. Christ is revealed, Christ is awakened, Christ is you, beyond, as I said, any identity, as well as any history. The body of eternity has allowed you to reconsciously awaken this, has allowed you to emerge from the dream, in order to accompany the dream until its completion. So the people of the sea join you in the same round, because there is no longer any distance between land and sea, between father and mother, between father and son, between mother and son. Such is love, such is completeness, such is integrity. Then freedom spreads its wings, whether behind your back, as in the circumstances of your life, magnifying every moment, transmuting it by the grace of your presence and your non-action, for what is at work is not even your presence, but the absence merged with the presence, being and non-being, without being able to make a distinction, without being able to make barriers, without being able to do anything other than to love what is and to love what will be, and to love in the same way what has already happened and yet is inscribed in the heart of the heart in the eternal instant. Silence. At this very moment, the triple cosmic radiation, called the Holy Spirit, the radiation of the ultraviolet and the radiation of the Source, is merged in each of us, performing the miracle of the 3-in-1, where nothing has to be prayed, where nothing has to be answered, where nothing can be missing. Silence. Thus, in the silences of my words, you walk through all the spaces, without displacing and without moving, you become what you have always been, indifferent to any form and yet present in each form, never making a difference, never discriminating, where there is neither good nor bad, but simply the evidence of love. Love knows neither good nor bad, love knows neither, love knows no borders and makes no difference, it is impossible. Silence. In this, I invite you to rest, which includes all the movements, all the silences and all the words. In this, the ineffable beauty, the ineffable truth, comes to cover the illusion of all suffering and comes to transform by the miracle of grace everything that can resist within the dream of individuality, where you love above all, where you only know to be love, where you know to be joined by non-being, where there is no need for proof, where there is no need for declamation, nor even intention. Listen, listen and hear the silence of the space that you are. Hear and listen, each sister and each heart, like each brother, who stand towards you, ready to embrace the gift of grace, in which you are in no way the author, in which you can claim nothing, except to see what is there. Silence. Then you feel transported into the fire of grace, you yourself become the being of fire that nothing can corrupt, prior to the truth and that is acting in you as for you, as in each other, beyond any desire, beyond any distance. Silence. Then great silence becomes the agent of love. Then the great silence becomes the agent of the end of time and the end of time, where time cannot pass, where time cannot be measured, where time cannot be frozen. You're the container of all time and space. You're the content of all life and suffering. Silence. Listen and hear what you're in space, where nothing can deceive you, where all discernment is superfluous, where all vision vanishes of itself before the magnificence of what is, beyond all belonging, as well as beyond your property. Silence. Accept to lay you down, in order to lay down all the burdens, those that seem to burden you, those that seem to weigh you down, but that could never take away the liveness of what you have always been. Where illusion cannot disturb your eternal peace. Where space and time are no more than concepts and ideas and do not imprint any mark on your body, as do all distances. Silence. Listen and hear the silence of freedom. Listen and hear where there is nothing else to hear but the great silence, preparing the coming of the heart of angels and the unspeakable for everyone, where the call is made, where you are established, dependent on nothing being the whole, where there is nothing to retain or even to think about, or even to see, for you are what has been seen, for you are what is seen and thus it is lived. Where nothing moves and yet everything is movement. Where you stand, I stand, where there is no place for the two, not even for the one, because everything comes from and returns to the place where the dream was first breathed, as it was last. Where the multitude of worlds and dimensions is resolved in your heart. Silence. Listen and hear to the great silence. Listen to what he has to say to you. Listen to what he has to experience for you. Hear only that, because everything else is superfluous, because everything else is obstructing you, and that you live it, and that you know it. Only the dance of your heart is the ultimate witness, in the middle of your chest, of this body that fades away, leaving room for the eternal light of the first of the forms, leading you to inform it, where everything is complete, whatever your person says, whatever your conscience says, whatever anyone says. Silence. Where the dream of individuality vanishes by itself, without effort and without question. Then the fire of each heart joins the great blaze, the blaze of joy, where nothing can be distinguished, where nothing can be separated. Listen and hear what this great silence tells you, so smile, because there is nothing more to understand, because there is nothing more to see, and you live that everything is perfect as well and that nothing can approach it and nothing can be compared to it. Let your heart dance. He is the witness of what you have always been, he is the translator, he is the actor. You're the rest, you're the immobility, you're the breath of creation, you're the devouring fire of love, the one who consumes you, leaving you intact in the eternity that you are, as in the absence of your eternity. Where everything is appreciated, where everything is tasted with the same grace, from everywhere on the world, from this world as from everyone else, the ultimate has joined you, he has never moved. Then happiness extends beyond your world and travels through every world that has always been at the heart of your being. This is the revelation that cannot be compared to any state whatsoever, nor to any lack whatsoever. Everything is perfection, everything is natural, everything is spontaneous. The whole world of this earth will not be able to ignore what is being lived and is being lived, even if today it may seem to you to be a utopia. Love is not utopian, love is in every setting, love is in every suffering, love is between every being, even between two enemies, because love never distinguishes, because love never separates. Embrace me as I have embraced you, you have nothing to open, you have nothing to do, and it is now in the sacred space of your heart, as in the sacred space of what could appear as two different hearts, carried by different forms. All this is just scenery, all this is just a dream and all this is not true. You can no longer weigh anything, you can measure nothing, you can only love, no matter what your head tells you, no matter what the other tells you, it no longer matters, it no longer has any effect, because love lets itself go through, because love is a solution, because love finds what can be wrong, with the same intensity, without any judgment. Then you will be able to say it, as Agape says, everything is accomplished, everything has always been written, nothing can be imperfect, nothing can be missing, no word can describe it, no vision can live it, no vibration can lead you there, no consciousness can be taken or even brought there. Silence. Listen and hear, the dance is the round of hearts that listen in this moment, as in every moment, because it has already taken place, because it has been experienced, because it has been lived, in the appearance of the first breath, which meets the appearance of the last breath, because love is everywhere, because you are what you are, beyond all being and all distinction, where you can be neither superior nor inferior to anyone, because you are present in everyone, with the same beauty, with the same evidence. Silence. Where you no longer need to care about anything or anyone, where nothing holds you, and yet you support the whole of creation as well as the whole of the uncreated, where there is no beginning, where there is no end, or even no middle. Everything is equal, and yet everything is different, and it is within these differences that the equality of the love given and received is lived, which no longer puts any distance, which no longer separates anything, and which unites everything within nothing. Silence. Where space and time make the same truth, make the same intensity, where no more words are useful, where everything is superfluous, where everything is seen, and yet you have nothing to see, where everything is felt, and yet you have nothing to feel, where everything is conceived, where you have never been born, where nothing can be denied, where nothing can be refused. Let me lead you to the way you carry me, because it is light, because it cannot be heavy, because it is so, because you cannot deny it, because nothing can be compared, where there is no image left. The evidence of silence carries away your ultimate reticence, carries away your ultimate thoughts, showing you the anteriority of all things, of all lives. Where nothing happens that has not already happened, that has not already happened. Where you stand, I stand, in this place that cannot be identified, nor even located, because it encompasses all places, as well as all space, because it encompasses all times, resolving itself in the zero time, the one that is never counted and that has never passed. And your heart breathes, and your heart is alive, putting an end to the death of all appearances and all that passes. Listen and hear what the great silence tells you, which is none other than great joy, where time meets space, where space fills all time, so that nothing can be conjugated anymore, for everything has been conjugated, thus preparing the hearts of angels and the ballet of angels, preparing and fulfilling the word of truth, where the word becomes breath and where this breath is silent, and yet supports every noise as every circumstance. Silence. Listen and hear what silence tells you, what emptiness tells you, aiming at contentment, aiming at truth, aiming at the ineffable. The dreamer is awake, the dream lasted a moment, whatever the appearance of the worlds, whatever the appearance of the forms. No appearance can limit you anymore, or restrict you in any way. You and your Father are one, before creation, where the front cannot be defined, nor even understood, because everything is inscribed in this present moment of great silence and great joy, where nothing makes sense anymore, because nothing can be sensible, because nothing can be identified, where there is no more absence, where there is no presence, and yet containing all the presences. Beyond all games, it has been decreed and it is lived, and it is here, and it is now, activating the fire of consummation, a fire of joy and joy, which leaves no burn, and yet burns you at every moment, with the red iron of love, the one who knows no metal, the one who knows no event, and who knows only beauty. Listen and hear the song of silence, listen and hear the magnificence of none being merged into being through you. Everything is accomplished, everything is written, no chance can appear, nothing can be in the shadows, nothing can be ruled out. Then joy, blossoming in your lips as in your eyes, surpasses all contingencies and ideas, where you have nothing to justify, where you are no longer to demonstrate, where you cannot judge. Silence. Where majesty is revealed and where your royalty as a worthy child of the sun makes you understand that you were much older than any sun and that you are present in every sun, whether it is born or dies, whether it is small or large, whether it is at the other end of another multiverse, there is no longer any distance, within the great silence, there is no longer any difference within the evidence of zero time. Where time cannot pass, where no time has passed, where all spaces merge, where the slightest distance cannot oppose it, because who can oppose the great silence of great joy, because who would like to work in the workshops of creation when he sees that everything is created within perfection? The imperfect dissolves, there is nothing to do, nothing to undertake, because everything is unknown. Then you give back the weapons of fear as well as ignorance, then you tear your chest apart to let the jewel open and reveal the brightness of your eyes and the brightness of your smile, which everyone recognizes, even if he seems to oppose it, even if he seems to escape it. Nothing can escape you and nothing will want to escape from the unspeakable beauty that you are. Silence. Where nothing can hold you back, in any posture or position, where everything that could still be shaky is plumb, without needing to be measured, without needing to apply the slightest level, without any tools, without any sense. Then the ether reveals itself in its whiteness, then the ether unfolds to infinity, nothing can escape from it, nothing wants to escape from it, because that would be madness, whereas love is the only madness. Nothing can be measured, nothing can be counted, nothing can be decided and nothing can appear anymore. Everything is silent, all movements are motionless, everything has been walked through, everything has been seen, everything is lived with the same grace, with the same beauty, putting an end to everything that is missing, not only in you, but also in what you think, nor in what you look at, nor in what you love as those you would think you would not love. Because it is impossible to do otherwise, than to love with the same quality, with the same intensity, each consciousness that suffers as each released consciousness. Your light shades both error and suffering with the same happiness, with the same regularity, where you have nothing to ask for, where you have nothing to take, but where everything is given to the way you have given yourself, so you're received. Listen to the dance of your heart that takes place in this great silence. Look, where there's nothing to hear or understand. What can you fear, what can you expect, that is not already there in its entirety? So is Agape, so is your presence, so is your absence, there is no more relief, there is no more distinction, there is only the essence, beyond all that you feel. Listen and hear what I say to you in silence, where there is no distance, beyond a single heart. Thus you are the beloved of love and the love of the beloved, because love and the beloved are included in the same dance and in the same silence. My words will never be silent, they are engraved in the eternity of great silence, they are engraved in every heart. You can't forget it anymore, you can't turn away from it. There's nothing you can do, nothing you can be. Who could be and who could do it, if not the intelligence of life that has sustained all dreams? Everything is consumed in the joy of smiling, in the joy of looking. Wherever you look, inside and out, there is no difference and nothing can be distant. Nothing can be counted, there is the whole, there where nothing is, in Alpha as in Omega, the ether sings at your door, announcing the song of freedom, the song of truth, which has nothing to justify, which has nothing to remove, or even to fill. Silence. You are with me as I am with you, because there is neither you nor me, and even in all of us, there are no multitudes. Whatever your eyes give you to see, do not be betrayed by your senses, do not be betrayed by what you think. The light cannot betray you, nor can it be balanced. It is all and nothing at the same time, in any space, whatever the distance, whatever the ignorance, whatever the knowledge. Silence. This is what the ultimate that you are tells you in this moment and will repeat to you in every moment, and that you will hear with every breath, as every morning, as every evening, as at every noon. Silence. It is time to let my silences and my words, as well as your words and your silences, work in the heart of the one, in the great presence as in the great absence. It is time to go beyond time, because space is conducive to seeing that there has never been space, or even the slightest distance, despite dreams and suffering. Silence. Loved of love and love of the beloved, you are the child as you are the old man of everyone, as in no other world, and these words are very weak in the midst of great silence, but they punctuate the dance, that of evidence, that of beatitude. Silence. And I say to you always, at every moment, at every instant, in every space and in every place, in every body as well as in every challenge, as well as in every joy, with the same happiness, with the same truth, beyond any being and any consciousness. And I tell you are love, prior to all love. I tell you, you are the beloved, beyond any distance, so is the great joy. You're invited to happiness. Whatever you say and whatever you see, it cannot be an obstacle, it cannot slow down. I now remain silent so that you may remain in the great silence, in the time you desire, without counting or waiting, simply by being there in you, and by being there in everyone, with the same equality. I love you forever, and it is you who tell yourself, as you tell each other, as you tell each world, as you tell each world, allowing you to transubstantiate all suffering with laughter and tears, in order to show yourself, even within your illusion, within what is perishable, through this body of flesh, this body of suffering, the ineffable happens. I'm shutting up now. Through Jean-Luc Young. The Transformations. French transcript. Agape team. English translation. LMF.